And we are back. It is the second segment of InfoWars Nightly News here every evening, 7 o'clock Central, streaming out at prisonplanet.tv and InfoWars Nightly News. I say that because if you're watching this on YouTube or one of the thousands of other video sites where we have millions of viewers every week, I'd like you to remember that there are moves for internet kill switches, selective enforcement against alternative media, and a whole constellation of different systems being launched to not just surveil the internet, but to restrict the type of information that's on it. And I want to thank those that are subscribers to prisonplanet.tv for making this possible, especially with the unbelievable news that we broke in the last segment, that the federal government is now activating the FEMA camps that they admittedly have been building since the 1980s and accelerated the construction of after the staged events of 9/11. This is incredible information, but being aware of it and speaking out against it can stop it. This, of course, all on the heels of the draconian National Defense Authorization Act and the announcement that they'll use the military on the streets of America against the American people, indefinite detention. We're not in Kansas anymore. Now, it's come out in several big studies, scientific studies, Pew Research and others, what our lion eyes have already told us. Ron Paul gets 89 seconds in a presidential CBS debate. The next candidate gets 2.5 minutes. Others got more than 10 minutes. That's a way to censor him and basically ban him from the event without actually doing it, because then he would get some attention being totally blacked out and blacklisted or, a form of McCarthy-type censorship. And, of course, we've seen the examples of what coverage he does get is incredibly negative. But our very own director of InfoWars Nightly News, Rob Dew's brother, is a statistical analysis sociologist and researcher at Texas State University. He's also working there on his master's in gerontology, or the care and study of the old, certainly good with this aging population. He's with us because he's taken the numbers in the big Pew Research piece and crunched it himself and come up with some other interesting information. Now, he finished this a few months ago. Since then, the numbers have even gotten stronger. But Patrick Dew joins us today to break this down as a statistician and sociologist. Amazing findings. We're going to put some of these on screen, but break down what the original study did and then what you gleaned from the numbers they had.
Well, Tricia Sarter wrote a report for the Pew Research Institute on excellence in journalism, outlining the number of news articles that the candidates received, and some people weren't candidates at all, but for sake of time, Mitt Romney received 120 articles where he was the lead newsmaker of that article. In comparison, Ron Paul received 27. To keep this number in order, the same newspapers produced stories about Barack Obama. President Obama, he received over 220 articles about over the same information. So what I did was I took this information, I used it as an independent variable to see if this would determine how straw poll results would turn out, or how candidates received coverage during debates. So I took 5 debates in September and October and broke them down, how many times each candidate was allowed to speak and the total time each candidate took to speak. And then I also looked at straw poll results from until October 29th. Since then, there's been 9 more straw polls that have been held since October 29th. What's fascinating is that there's an inverse relationship between the number of news articles written about the candidates and the number of straw poll victories. As of October 29th, Ron Paul had won 11 straw polls, and Mitt Romney had won 4. Newt Gingrich hadn't won 1, and Herman Cain had won 12. Since that time, there's been 9 more straw polls. Ron Paul's won 6 of them, Herman Cain won 2, and Newt Gingrich won 1. Making him now the new frontrunner.
So Ron Paul is the undisputed leader.
The undisputed leader. He's got 17 victories out of the 44. That's 38% of the victories of the straw polls, and yet he's getting no coverage until recently.
Now you're the analyst and the sociologist and the statistician, but correct me if I'm wrong. What this is showing is there's two different worlds. There's the mainstream media saying who they think the winner is, and the crowd that follows what the mainstream media says. And then there's the other crowd that's becoming larger every day that doesn't go off what the so-called dinosaur media says, who was supporting Ron Paul. And I saw this in Kentucky when the media was attacking Rand Paul. The more they attacked him and claimed he was worshiping Buddhas and kidnapping women and wasn't a medical doctor, all of which was lies, his numbers only went up. And that's what I told Politico last year. I said, if you want to destroy Rand Paul, endorse him. I mean, the system just doesn't get, it's discredited. Now, that's what I see as somebody who hasn't scientifically broken down the numbers. What do you get from this?
This seems like they have had someone that they want to be the leader from. I mean, Mitt Romney, according to Gallup polls, has been the leader since November 2010. So even though he's not, this isn't shown. I mean, straw polls aren't scientific, but they're supposed to be, they're given an idea of what people are thinking, how they would vote. Again, people could change their votes, but I don't see why people who would go to these straw polls, usually they're donating money, would put a false vote down. I mean, it's just, it's ridiculous that, I mean, I think it all starts from his 1988 campaign when he ran for president, and then it started this grassroots movement that got him support in 2008, which has just exploded now in 2011 and going into the 2012.
So it's worlds colliding. It's real grassroots populism, left, right, across the board, versus the establishment serving up the Obama and Newt Gingrich type candidates.
Absolutely, because he's never had this amount of support. Ron Paul has never had this amount of support before, this amount of coverage. I mean, in 2008, it was 2007 even when the Tea Party first originated, you know, being built back up again, and it was all supported Ron Paul, and then it was absorbed by Fox News, and they're going to try to take his ideas, is what I'm guessing. I mean, that's what Rick Perry's done. He's tried to take Ron Paul's ideas and use them as his own, and try to finagle his way into the race. But I mean, he's not.
Well, people discovered he was a fraud.
Right.
I mean, you know, the fact is Ron Paul is who he says he is, and people trying to become Ron Paul are failing. And it's like shark teeth. You get one candidate, people find out about him, they fall back. Another comes forward, and they've said it's whoever comes up last when the primary hits, like a Newt Gingrich, who isn't found out before the primaries, that they believe will get it. And that's why they're in a race to beat Paul. But now even CBS has to admit he is in second place now behind Newt Gingrich, but they've now made him the heir apparent. But just amazing that he's now won 6 more straw polls, so he's the undisputed winner of those, and is now coming up to third and second place in all the other scientific polls. So if he gave this interview a headline from the Pew Research, I guess it's just scientific study shows media endorsement, you know, is not, you know, helping candidates win, or I mean, what's the bottom line statement you got from this?
I mean, the media, they have something to sell. They're selling to an audience, and they're telling people what they want them to do, how they want them to vote. But people who are paying attention aren't buying into it. So if we can keep that momentum going, you know, I mean, he's winning 38% of the straw polls. I mean, there's a reason for that. It's not just a fluke, you know, but they can disregard it as much as they want.
Yeah, out of 8 candidates, he's winning the most. But so what you're really saying from this breakdown is that the public is not buying the media darling candidates anymore, that the media is losing its endorsement power.
They are. I mean, you still have special interest groups, and you have the religious group, not fundamentalist, but you have religious organizations that will vote a certain way, and they, you know, have their pastors tell people how to vote. But it's spreading. It's spreading slowly, and it takes time. But I mean, it's happening. I mean, and it's got to be some kind of, it's an anomaly, because there's no reason why someone who receives that much media support should be winning this number of polls.
He's getting the least amount of coverage, and he's winning the most. And I think what that really shows then, and shows a lot of things, is that the mainstream media is not as powerful as it was. TV viewership's down, newspaper reading is down. More people get their news from the web and the alternative media. And we've crossed the Rubicon the last 2 years. A lot of studies show this, that alternative media is now the dominant media. It's just truly diverse and a million different voices, whereas you've got the old media, 100 different voices, but they are now the smaller part of the market share. So they can still steer things for a little while. They can con people in the short term, but their staying power isn't there. They're out of bullets. It's over. The dinosaurs are dying.
I agree. I mean, Ron Paul has an opportunity now. I mean, if the Iowa caucus can say anything, if it has a lot of support, then I mean, maybe we are making a change. Or maybe there can be hope and change in the world again. But if we can turn that corner and he can win the Republican vote. His problem is that he's not a conventional Republican candidate because he's got too many socially liberal views. I mean, he's not trying to get involved too much. And he wants to take our military out of foreign land. So he doesn't.
He's a constitutionalist.
He doesn't go along,
which means he's a classical liberal like Thomas Jefferson.
Right, and so the people that say that they're liberals now are more conservative because they're not going for change. They're trying to keep everything the same, keep it status quo, keep their pockets full, and he's the only person who's talking about realities. He's not going for applause points. He's not going for...
yeah, I know the behind-the-scenes baseball. He doesn't even want power to be the president. He knows it's a responsibility. The exciting thing about this, though, is, as you pointed out, he got a fraction of the media coverage 4 years ago that he's getting now, and it shows the grassroots is what's put him here. Now he's getting a little more media attention, but still, compared to the others, it's the lowest level. It really shows that the grassroots has grown, and even if he doesn't win, the ideas that he's been a focal point of are growing exponentially.
I think that's his goal, too. I don't think he cares to win. I think he's trying to wake people up, and now it's working, because 10 years ago I was in a band, and now I'm writing papers like this, and I guess being an activist to try to get people to pay attention.
Well, that's what the Bilderberg Group said 2 years ago. We have inside sources there through Jim Tucker. They said they're very upset. I mean, at the actual 130 most powerful people in the world, they're talking about Ron Paul, and they said it's not that they know they can probably keep him out with election fraud. Mm-hmm. It's that on the colleges, it's not communism that the kids think or young people think is cool. It's not right-wing fascist type fake stuff. It's true libertarian ideas. They know their gauges show that's the hottest thing, and they see that growth rate and they're panicking.